Welcome in, wrong side of the pond. Episode 35, live from our own sort of butler cabin.
Yeah, it's a little bit like a cabin.
I'm not wearing a green jacket, neither are you, but
No.
it is Masters Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
My guy won. Bubba Watson won, so I'm excited about that.
I'm excited for you.
I gotta say the golf was really doing battle with my soccer time this weekend.
You know, you're just telling me before we got started that you struggled to watch any football this weekend.
I had to do a lot of backtracking thanks to NBC.com and MLS Live.
Yeah.
I was able to cover everything.
Okay.
So I am ready to roll.
Well, we don't have to relegate you off the podcast.
Sweet.
Sure.
Not yet.
Not quite yet.
A lot of stuff going on though. EPL, kind of a dud week, but some stuff happened.
Yeah, I mean, some stuff happened that affected the table. Nothing earth-shattering, but maybe setting us up for even more drama down the road.
We're watching actually it right now on replay. Liverpool pulled off City. 3-2. Chelsea keep pace by winning, so they remain 2 points back in the standings. City, though, kind of reeling. They're now several points, I think 7?
Yeah.
7 points.
Off the title race.
They
now.
still have the 2 points, or the 2 game matches in hand, but 2 matches in hand that they have doesn't really do much because that's only 6 points.
Yeah, so that would still leave them a point behind, assuming that Liverpool kind of keep pace with themselves right
Assuming
now.
they do, Liverpool and Chelsea will meet up at the end of the month, so that'll be an interesting one. We had some bottom of the table movement. Fulham are nearly out.
Yeah, they are.
They've almost escaped.
We wrote them off as dead.
Dead and buried.
Months ago, I feel like.
20th place finish.
Yeah, and here they are finding themselves back in the fight, maybe pulling themselves up by their own bootstraps.
Bundesliga, Redknapp.
Yep.
He's good, I
Yeah.
guess.
I mean, he really is. He's good for one thing. Well, 2 things. Much like Redknapp. Saving teams and good headlines.
And having a nice round face.
Yeah. He also likes his hipster glasses.
Oh, he does. What's that place called? Like Warbley Parker or whatever? That glasses place. I bet he shops there.
He probably does.
Champions League, we have our semifinals. Bit of a doozy with the way things ended for one team. Chelsea escaping. They go into the second leg down 3-1, take PSG to the bridge, and magic unfolds. Through
the most unlikely of sources.
Third stringer.
Yeah.
Dembaba. Sets up, though. Chelsea will play Atlético Madrid. Bayern and Real Madrid will go at it as well.
Yeah, so we'll talk a little bit more about those games and what that actually means.
Speaking of another cup, the FA Cup semifinals this weekend. We now know our final. It'll be Arsenal. This close
They're
to
this close to making it
snapping
happen.
that 8 years
But
there.
they really did try to make it not into the final as well.
Luckily for them, the wicket keeper was not really aware of how penalties work.
No.
He seemed to not understand the objective.
No.
They will play Hull.
Hull
Tigers.
Hull Tigers.
That's what they want to be called. The vote says so.
If it's a vote, then it's science.
It's science. Also some MLS action. Few matches, few decent ones.
Yeah, a few things to
Clint
go
Dempsey
over.
popped off again.
Yeah. Dropping it like it's hot.
Sort of had a hat trick. Had the brace, but pretty much caused an own goal. Should have had the hat trick, though.
Yeah, but there's also some other news domestically that's not related to MLS, but could interfere with MLS.
Oh, boy.
And potentially a lot of other things in a possible South American championship to be played out here.
That makes sense, right?
Yeah, lots of sense.
It makes dollars and cents.
Yes, which is probably why anyone's talking about it in the first place. So we'll talk some about that. Lots to get into.
Yeah, well, we'll go ahead and start with the EPL weekend on Saturday, and we'll start with...
First off, did anyone notice the weird kickoff times this weekend?
Everything was, 10:07 or 10:10?
I think it was 10:07.
Every
single one of the matches on Saturday kicked off at 10:07. If you were wondering why that was, and maybe you weren't, and you're just now finding out about this now.
As you were saying it, I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. That was in homage, of course, to something else that got a lot of attention today. And, of course, this is Sunday that we're recording this. A homage to the Hillsborough disaster, which happened 25 years ago. We'll talk more about this with the Liverpool game. But this was kind of a theme throughout the weekend, everyone paying their respect to easily the largest tragedy in English football history. So we'll talk a little bit about that, like I said, once we actually get into the Liverpool game. But just kind of an oddity of the weekend, especially with everyone kicking off at the same time.
Yeah, no early matches, no late match, just everything 10:07.
It made it hard to watch everything.
Well,
something to bitch about as an American, right?
I mean, you knew what you were going to watch. Right?
Well, that's true.
You were going to watch
Spurs were playing, so I was going to watch them.
I feel like if you were a neutral, you would maybe the Everton match, just because they were the best club playing.
Maybe
at that time.
Yeah, it was just odd.
United and Arsenal were off.
Outside of like the final day of the season, I just don't like the idea of starting all the matches at the same time. Like it was
a little goofy.
Yeah, I like to build up and watch a match in the morning. Work my way into the second one. By the third one, I'm getting a little ADD, and it's a little hard to watch.
Well, then we're now in that time of year where you have this. You watch 3 in a row, and then you go like, "Oh, I think I'll take a
few
break."
hours off, and oh god, MLS matches are starting already.
The MLS nooner or the midday MLS starts in 30 minutes.
Yeah, my wife loves the springtime and the fall, for that matter, when MLS seems to overlap with the Premier League. And then we have it happening again this summer, so
yay.
No break. Happy wives.
Wives love it.
Yeah.
Let's get into it, though, on Saturday. We'll start with the one club actually in contention for top 4, and are now in top 4.
Yeah.
Sunderland 0, Everton 1. Kind of a meh match. There was plenty of shots, actually 44 total shots between the two clubs.
Mm-hmm.
Yet it was a Wes Brown own goal that was the decider.
Good old Calamity Brown.
He just can't stay out of it.
No, it's whether it's a red card or an own goal. Brown finds a way to make his own team's life more difficult. Which is probably why United were so happy to get rid of him in the first place.
Well, yeah. United's problems, now Sunderland's hero.
Yeah.
Or zero.
Yeah.
Sunderland.
No Josie in the 18 again.
No.
Supposedly he's hurt right now.
Sure.
But, after everything that we saw that's kind of come out with a little spat between him and the manager at Sunderland, maybe it's probably just everyone cutting their losses and saying, well, let's just not deal with it anymore.
Yeah, I was wondering this. I was actually texting with one of my buddies, Gunnar Dave. We were talking about this. What? Like next year, so they go down, you think Fletcher's a loan player, right? Is he a loan? Still from Wolves? He came on late. I feel it was a late signing.
I think he was a buy.
He was a buy.
Think they bought him.
I would say he's gonna bolt.
Yeah, whether it's
because that's why he's not with Wolves.
Well, maybe a new side coming up would like to snap him up for.
So Fletcher would go with a new side. Try to stay in the Premier League.
Mm-hmm.
Barini, I think, has value.
Yeah.
On the market.
Mm-hmm. Whether it's staying here in England or. Actually going back to Italy.
They've already spent the money on Jose. Is there a chance that Jose might have to be there? By default, is their guy next year?
Well, with how much they spent on him, you would imagine they're also giving him a decent wage, too. So,
yeah, so can they afford that?
Well, can they afford that, but can they convince anyone that he's worth it? That I think is the biggest question, is finding someone to pick up his contract. We don't know how big that is, maybe that's an impediment, maybe it isn't. But I think there are a lot of factors that will determine whether or not Josie stays there, regardless of how, Sunderland finish up, whether they get relegated or they stay up.
But that's not too crazy of a logic, though, that if they do go down, with the other two strikers probably looking to roll out, Jose could potentially become kind of the guy at Sunderland through default. I mean, there's a falling out that's going on. He hasn't even shown on the field anything to really merit more playing time than he's already been given.
Yeah.
But
I'm not really sure whether or not he's going to have to deal with it. I mean, I think he's probably looking.
They'll be the ones dealing with it.
Yeah, I mean, but
he'll be happy to play.
I think he's probably looking to go as much as any of the other strikers, and he probably has more incentive to go. So
Sunderland might be like Chelsea next year and may have a whole new boat of strikers.
Yeah, I mean, if they go down, I think they're going to be remade anyway. They've got far too expensive a squad to survive financially in the championship, let alone if they get to stay up and whether they'll get to keep the people that are good. So it's going to be a completely different look for them. Where Josie goes, he seems to be the new contender of, I'm going to be the American guy that comes back to MLS next. And then there becomes the whole conundrum of where does he actually go? And maybe he sits out for a little while and keeps himself in shape and becomes the first big signing for NYCFC.
I mean, that's what a lot of people are saying and wanting.
Yeah. I mean,
you kind of almost have to go down that road because at the moment, as far as clubs that can afford to bring him on,
I mean, there aren't a whole lot.
Everyone's got their three for the most part.
I mean, let's be honest. He's a European caliber player. He
absolutely
is more than deserving of a type of contract that Clint Dempsey's found himself or that Michael Bradley's found himself. I don't think career-wise it's the right move for him. I mean, I think he's a type of striker that should be staying over there. But I say the same thing about Bradley and the same thing about Dempsey. And I think, those are guys that should be pushing themselves in Europe. But who am I to deny a man an $8 million or $7 million a year contract?
Yeah, because you think if we were in this scenario and it was next summer, we'd be like, well, you got two MLS sides that are new, looking to make that big splash, and probably have the money. Maybe.
But this is now a bust for him in two separate runs in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Everyone, kindly forgets about how he did so terrible during his run at Hull a couple of years back. So
did he have any goals at Hull?
He had a couple.
Okay.
I think he had two.
Now, maybe he'll get to play the weekend. They play Chelsea. Chelsea is where he scored his
goal last time. Who knows? Maybe he's a good luck charm against the Blues.
All that aside, though, with Everton, this now moves them into fourth.
Yes. Arsenal, of course, not playing this weekend, at least in league action.
But that really doesn't mean much because they both have a game in hand.
Yeah.
And they'll both play said game in hand this midweek.
Right.
So, if they both hold pace, I'm actually flipping through here to look at who they play. Arsenal has West Ham and Everton have Crystal Palace.
So both winnable games?
Yeah, likely both winnable. So it'll kind of stay where it's at, essentially.
So Everton have it in their hands.
Absolutely.
And as we've said time and time again, if Everton do manage to get into the top four, the question remains whether this team will actually stay together to compete next season in the Champions League.
I asked my buddy Dave, I said, if you could have one or the other, you either win a trophy this year, obviously the FA Cup, or you get fourth place. You only get one.
I guarantee I know what he answered.
Fourth place.
Yep.
And I to a large extent, I absolutely agree with him.
Isn't that sad, though?
I think it just shows the impact that Champions League has as far as, if you want to get players. I mean, I always, as a Chelsea fan, I point to, we have Eden Hazard because we won the Champions League.
Yeah.
He had his pick of the litter, essentially, in the EPL. I mean, City, United. He did mention he didn't really feel like he wanted to move to dreary Manchester.
Yeah. There was talk, and actually pretty strong talk for a while, that Spurs were even in the running.
Yeah. I mean, he had his pick. He could go anywhere in the EPL. He chose Chelsea because, A, Chelsea could pay him a wage that he wanted, and B, they were the champions. I mean, he said that. He said, I want to pay for the champions. He announced on his Twitter, I picked the champions.
Yeah. Champions of what, we all wondered at the time.
Of the Eden Hazard sweepstakes.
Yeah. Sounds like a pretty sweet race to win.
It was pretty nice. Get that man and his birthing hips into our squad. But, yeah, I mean, I think top 4 is huge. But at the moment, it looks like you have a better shot at the moment to win your trophy in the FA Cup than you do
actually maintaining
fourth place.
Yeah. I mean,
maintain, you don't even have it at this point.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. So, the trophy that Arsene Wenger always finds himself very pleased to have won, I'm doing air quotes here, won the 4th place trophy.
You guys almost won it last year. You almost snatched it from him.
Almost.
Would they have had to deliver that to your house?
One would hope.
Would they have made the trek across North London there? And
yeah.
Here's your trophy. It's just statue of him, just hands on hips, or trying to zip the coat or something.
Oh, yeah. I think it would probably be the zipping the coat one. Struggling to get any higher than midway up his zipped coat.
Sunderland, on the other hand, though, they are now 7 points adrift and in last place.
Yeah, so I think, even though we seem to have been poor about predicting this, I think Sunderland are probably, this is just too steep of a mountain.
At this point, we're safe to say that.
I think they're going.
All right. 2 teams that are, one doing their best. One is doing their best to survive. The other one is starting to put themselves in danger. Crystal Palace 1, Aston Villa 0.
Okay.
Aston Villa falling apart. Now 4 straight losses since the win against Chelsea. And they're not, like, in super danger, but they keep slipping.
Yeah. I mean, they've fallen a long way. This was a team that, at some points earlier on in the season, we were talking about how, they could hang around the top half of the table. They're going to be maybe one of the surprise teams of the season. And yet, now they're actually potentially in a relegation battle. And I don't really see it turning around anytime soon either.
No. I mean, that's why you look at Crystal Palace, that was on the other end of this match. They get the winner off of a punch-on, but they're not really that far up from Villa in the table. But they're trending in a much better direction than Villa.
I mean, Palace have won their last 3.
Yeah.
They've only lost like once or twice this season at home, like Settlers Park. Clearly a place that's friendly confines for them. With
beat Chelsea just recently.
With such great support there, I mean, that's not all that surprising. But Palace now all the way up in 12th. So, I mean, it's like...
They're mid-table.
I mean, they're mid-table now.
Palace is mid-table.
Villa...
Palace had to fire their manager at the beginning of the year. Mid-table.
And bring in former Stoke manager Tony Pulis to be the man of the
negative play.
Yeah. And it hasn't even really been that negative. It is worth mentioning, Punchin has been like their magic man.
He has.
I mean, he's scored a boatload of important goals recently. So, credit to him. I mean, that's been a fantastic pickup for them this season. A guy that's hung around the Premier League's doldrums for a while now, but seems to be pulling off the trick, and we'll probably see the Eagles and their Eagle stay in the Premier League next season.
Speaking of finding your magic man, Fulham 1, Norwich 0.
You go, Rodallega.
The same hero as last week.
Yeah.
They are now only 2 points back of Norwich.
Okay.
We were talking about it before the podcast. They both have matches against better sides this weekend coming up.
Yes,
Fulham have Tottenham. Norwich host Liverpool.
Yeah, so
there's
going to be a slaughtering in one of those games. Actually, maybe both, and Spurs could be on the receiving end of it. So I'm not promising anything.
The faith.
Yeah, but Liverpool certainly will lay their opponent to the sword. So neither one of them are likely to make ground, although Fulham playing Spurs would probably be the more likely to do so.
Yeah, I would say so.
But even if so, they were, if they were able to manage a point, that wouldn't see them climb entirely out. But I think Norwich, I could actually see them going down this year.
Well,
just fired a manager.
Just fired the manager.
No real direction. Clearly not seeing any inspiration from the changes.
I feel like we see this often from sides that come up. They come up, they have like this year where they finish mid-table, and you think, wow, that was what a run by those guys. What a valiant effort. They really showed their form in the Premier League. And then within 2 years, they've completely flamed out again.
Well, I mean, it's weird. Norwich are a big club. I mean, they have a
Sure.
lot of history behind them, have won many League One titles back in the old League One days.
But fairly recent promotion.
But before, their most recent relegation, they'd had a long run up in the Premier League. So they have the resources behind them, a big stadium, a passionate, pretty well-supported fan base. But they just can't seem to pull it together.
No.
It's a club that's plagued by either managers leaving or managers being inadequate. I don't know. I feel like the way momentum's going, that they're probably going to be joining Sunderland in the Championship next season.
So, Sunderland, Norwich, currently in the death spiral.
Well, at least as far as I'm concerned.
I agree. I completely agree. Southampton 0, Cardiff 1. Cardiff pulling up on the controls there.
Yeah.
In the death spiral.
Yeah. Another club trying to pull themselves out. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, a guy who came in under much fanfare, hasn't really had that much of impact, quietly actually turning that team's results around.
Yeah.
Just behind Fulham, maybe potentially finding their way out as well.
But do you not, as someone who hates Vincent Tan's ways of owning this team, how he's taken care of things and changed things and hired a child to be a scout for a moment there, and don't you want them to fail?
I mean, part of me does. The other part of me loves a train wreck.
I love I love chaos.
Don't you love when there's an accident on the highway? You don't love that there's an accident.
Yeah. I hope everyone's dead.
And you don't want anyone to be hurt, but you do want to look, because you're like, man, I'm curious.
Hey, what's going on over there?
I wonder what they did to fuck up this situation. And Vincent Tan is me getting to watch a train wreck week in and week out.
He is. A train wreck in a very high waistline.
And a tucked-in jersey. Could you imagine if you saw Vincent Tan on the side of a highway, laying there in that outfit? That's what it's like looking at Cardiff every weekend.
Is he laying there because he's been in an accident, or did he go to all Tiger Woods and he's sleeping off some medication-induced car accident?
Well, I mean, who knows?
Stoke 1, Newcastle 0. Newcastle, I mean, they're not really in danger, but really playing badly.
They're in terrible form. Overall, I'm looking at their last 6 right now. They've lost 5 of their last 6. Alan Pardew and his, forever contract looking more and more of a fabulous decision.
Some guy had a handmade sign, and by sign I mean it appeared to be a bedsheet he painted, that said, Pardew is a Muppet.
He could be.
He was up in the stands kind of like those old guy Muppets.
Yeah, I mean,
just sit there and just snark at everything.
He has to be. Of course, he's still on his suspension from headbutting a player, so overall,
I can't believe that actually happened.
Well, I can't either. I mean, Newcastle are like the template for a dysfunctional club that is certainly just getting by on the fact that they have a fan base large enough to mainly keep them up every year. They have enough money that they can spend and reinvest to keep them up most of the time, and yet they rip the soul out of every one of those fans that packs St. James Park every weekend. It's got to be miserable to go out there and watch that.
That sucks to be done.
Yeah, it does.
All right, you have the floor. I'm going to grab a beer here.
Yeah.
West Brom 3, Spurs also
3. Yeah, it sounds like, oh man, this game must have been like a great back and forth thriller. No, it was awful. I mean, as a Spurs fan, this was probably one of the least enjoyable matches that I've gotten to watch them play in some time.
Pardon me, I'm just going to grab this beer here.
Yeah, you go ahead and fill up, because you don't want to have to hear this whining of mine on a sober set of ears,
Tonight we are drinking the Upland Brewing Company's Campside Summer Session.
Yeah. It's pretty tasty.
Upland, was that Bloomington? Bloomington, Indiana?
I believe it is a Bloomington, Indiana brewery.
Mm.
So as they distract us from me talking more about Spurs. Now, I mean, first off, Spurs were down 2-0 inside of, 4 minutes. The opening goal coming from Vidra, literally 38 seconds in. And then Brunt opening up a second one for the hosts not long after that. Spurs were just a shambles in the opening, 25 minutes. It was just dreadful. We even won a penalty in that span, and Adebayor literally, passed it right to Foster's hands. It was just ridiculously embarrassing.
So, early on, what are you thinking? What's going through your mind? What's racing through you?
When the first goal happened, and I'm sitting here struggling even getting this bottle open because I'm still so frustrated about this. When the first goal happened, you almost just laugh. I remember there was a spell when I was in college. In my team, my senior year, we ended up doing fairly well. We won the league my senior year, and we're a decent team. But we conceded our first goal every time, and it was always a fight back, and we had to get that over with before we could move on and do well. And when I saw that happen, it was just well, there's Spurs being Spurs. And the second goal happened, and I was like, no, forget this. This is stupid. And I literally got up to start folding laundry. I don't know that I've not watched a game outright in a really long time, and I couldn't even take it anymore.
But then
we were gifted a lifeline through a deflected own goal that popped over Foster's head. Thanks to Jonas Olsson for making that happen. So Spurs go into the break 3-1 down at halftime, and we're just thinking, well, it'll be nice not having the Europa League next year. I mean, look at Liverpool. They haven't had any other competitions to play in, and they're sitting top of the league. So,
you don't want to be distracted by it.
Yeah, maybe next year will be our year, much like it's been like Liverpool. I mean, these are the kind of things I'm trying to convince myself of at halftime. So overall, it was just, I felt completely deflated. And I know I've already said, I've given up on this season, and I really have no hope of us making Champions League, and I think that's still the case. But I just wanted to see some sort of ambition out of the guys, and in the first half, it wasn't there at all. It was miserable. The second half, I don't know if good old Timmy Sherwood, pulled out his hairdryer and blew it at everyone, or what really went down. But
blew everyone?
Well, maybe he did. Maybe that's what he does with his hairdryer. Maybe that's why things are going so wrong after his appointment.
You're doing it wrong.
But whatever the case is, Spurs in the second half looked like a different team. And young Harry Kane came out and got his goal. And then Eriksen scoring a goal in stoppage time to tie things up, 94th minute. This kid's had as many goals. Well, first off, Kane has had as many goals in open play as Soldado has this season. So our young forward, who's only made a handful of appearances this season with 2 outfield goals, is the same as Soldado, a guy we paid £30 million for. So, screw me, right?
You're screwed.
Yeah. But Eriksen, I mean, he's only 2 goals behind our leading scorer for the season. And I mean, I'm thrilled that he's playing so well, but God, I mean, he's turning into our Gareth Bale, where we're relying on a late Eriksen heroic to make things happen. So it's just, I don't even know. I mean, it's just, I'm trying not to get too bent out of shape because clearly nothing should really come from this season.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Last week you were basically saying, the season is what it is. I've come to terms with what the season's going to be. I
don't want to be embarrassed, That's what it's really boiled down to. So, I don't know. I mean, the rumors persist before the game that Tim Sherwood knows that he's being fired in the offseason already, and the way he's answering questions certainly seems to make that appear that way. And Louis van Gaal is supposedly waiting in the wings, although the rumor is now that United have also had talks with him. There's just nothing really to look forward to with Tottenham at the moment. And it's a little gloomy, and I don't really like it, even though I've written the season off and don't really care.
Well, here's hoping things turn around there.
Thanks. So with that in mind, let's talk about how things may or may not be turning around for your lot.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. We moved to Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Swansea zip. Chelsea won. Chico, two quick yellow cards inside of 2 minutes.
Yeah.
He had 2 yellows.
Didn't really take him very long.
And they weren't even really questionable ones either.
No.
He was just an idiot.
He's been a loose cannon for a while now this season. He's had a couple high-profile incidents, so he's had this coming to him.
I mean, it looked like he just wanted to leave.
Yeah.
And he did. So he was gone in a hurry. Put Chelsea up real quickly. This match was really never totally in doubt towards the end. There was a lot dicey back and forth between the two sides. Swansea had a couple decent looks on goal late, but for the most part, Chelsea bossed this one. I mean, even the shots category, 26-7. It was Ba, though.
Yeah.
Demba Ba getting the start. He started.
Impressed Mourinho with his performance, perhaps, in the midweek in the
Yeah.
Champions League?
Saved their bacon in the midweek and saved their bacon today. As in the 68th minute, he scores a goal. Salah had to start again. Hazard hurt. We're not sure how long that's going to be.
I'll tell you what, Salah is impressive, though.
I told you last week I fell in love.
Mm-hmm.
He played great all match. Great service in. Unfortunately for him, Samuel Eto'o was just, I don't know if he drank too much coffee or something, but he was just too twitchy to get a single half-decent shot on goal.
Yeah.
Salah gave him about 100 opportunities in the last 20 minutes to get one in. And he crapped away every single one of them. But Salah has been huge in the fact that Hazard's our best player.
Yeah.
And, we gave him the week off last week. He's now hurt from midweek. We don't know how long he could be out. He could be out possibly for at least one or if not both legs of the Champions League semifinal. And more importantly, the Liverpool match near the end of the month.
I mean, those would be really critical games.
Yeah.
And yet, Salah's almost made it seem like he's not been gone.
He kind of has. I mean, Salah has come in and played unbelievably well.
I mean, I'm not going to lie, though. You guys have a midfield, cast that any injury should really not be that concern.
Sure. I mean, Schürrle still is technically a bench player.
I mean, you have a Willian, you have, Schürrle, you have all these guys that you can continue to throw out there that most teams don't really have available to them. I mean, they kept showing a dejected Fernando Torres on the bench, and you kind of think, yeah, it's Torres, but he's still a 50 million pound striker that you could potentially pull off. So
he's also a guy that was given about 1 million minutes this season and has produced almost nothing, while Demba Ba has gotten just the crumbs on the floor to work with and is pulling rabbits out of the hat.
Well, I know who I would be playing.
Even though this week Demba Ba has already said, yeah, I'd like to go somewhere where I can play.
Yeah.
Which probably isn't going to be Chelsea.
No, probably
Especially if
not.
they make the moves they're expected to make over the summer.
God, I hope he doesn't go to Spurs. I don't want Demba Ba.
He's a good player.
He is a good player. I don't want Demba Ba.
Why?
Do you want Demba Ba?
Actually, I was jacked when we got him.
Okay.
I when he played when he was at Newcastle. He effed us over a few times. I thought he was fantastic.
Well, I mean, if that's what you needed to do.
That's what I want. Chelsea, though, keep their pace. They remain 2 points back. Everything's still setting up for that big match.
Yeah.
At the end of the month. Because Liverpool 3, City 2.
What a game.
What a game. We actually just finished watching it here on on your TV.
Mm-hmm.
It started out pretty fast.
I mean,
Sterling.
Really fast.
I mean, just bobbing and weaving. Joe Hart just abandons goal. Just abandoned ship.
Well, I mean, it wasn't... what was really impressive about that goal overall, for me at least, was the composure that Sterling showed on it. He looked for 3 or 4 different options before he eventually opted to shoot. You can't really fault Hart too much for finally being the guy who's like, wait, I should probably step on this guy.
It's all moved to Sterling that he freaking faked the entire backline and the keeper out of position so he could just sneak around him.
Yeah.
I mean, that was insane.
Well, I mean, but the composure for a kid of his age to actually not panic in that mode, didn't find himself in a couple different scenarios that may have worked out, and then to slot home the way that he did, it was just a really, really impressive goal. By the way, I think Raheem Sterling is going to start for England in the World Cup. I just want to make that clear right now. I think he's going to be the guy that ends up running.
What are your other options there?
Well, I mean, there aren't a whole lot of other ones, so...
Bingo.
Yeah. But it was just a fantastic start to the match. First off, Suarez had a yellow card literally minutes before this for a pretty ridiculous tackle. So he was already running a little wounded at the beginning of the game, at least as far as his normal intensity levels. But the pass that he created just seconds after getting booked to actually make that Sterling goal happen was exquisite. I mean, for a guy that causes nothing but problems, and again, he had a dive in about the 30th minute that he probably should have seen a second yellow card for and gone off for. Yeah. For as much of an issue that he causes in generally every situation, he just finds a way to awe you sometimes. And this is one of those things with Liverpool on the whole that's kind of like, well, they're almost destined to have something amazing happen this season, is everything's just falling in place for them right now. Mm-hmm. And the rest of this match even went that way.
Speaking of falling in place, even Skirtle got in on the action early.
Yeah, I mean, a guy that's had 2 braces this year as a center back. I mean, that's ridiculous. You don't see that normally out of a team unless all the pieces are falling in place for them.
Second half. Mm-hmm. Well, right before the second half, City had a couple chances that they just couldn't get anything going. I mean, they put some great ones on net, and Mignolet just discarded of them.
Yeah.
Second half, though, David Silva did bring a goal back somewhat quickly, about 10 minutes in. He scores to make it 2-1. Shortly thereafter, he causes a Glenn Johnson own goal. Mm-hmm. So we're all knotted up. Yeah. We're even. It is as much as Liverpool goes and bosses that first half.
We're on level terms.
Yeah, we're sitting there on level terms. Until
Coutinho. A guy who's just been pulling out late game daggers more and more recently.
Guy who missed a great opportunity in the first half. Mm-hmm. Just split the defenders and then just shanked it.
Yeah. Badly. But he comes up with a late goal for Liverpool. 78th minute. And you could just feel Anfield erupt. And from that point, I mean, you kind of knew that they were going to be the winners.
So much so that it didn't matter in the 93rd minute when Henderson got a red card and was sent off.
Yeah, I mean, and it did, the rest of the team was running on pure adrenaline at that point, and it didn't really even much matter that they were playing a man down. So, and let's be honest, and something I said we needed to touch on with this game is that they had, they were already playing with 12 men.
Yeah.
Because Anfield was just an awe today. When you sometimes hear stories about how a home ground in England can be just a magical experience, this would have been one of those days where you just think to yourself, I'm lucky to have been in a match like this. And again, the reason for it is a pretty terrible one. So this was the 25th anniversary of the Hillsborough disaster. Like I said before, 96 Liverpool fans 25 years ago lost their lives at a match at Sheffield Wednesday's ground, Hillsborough Stadium, and a fan crush. So if you've never read up on this, it's kind of amazing. And if you know anyone that's a Liverpool fan, they'd probably shove this story down your throat a million times. That's the reason why they're allowed to be so exuberant as a fan base is because they had a bunch of their mates die. And I'm not trying to discredit that because it's a tragedy that really no words can really describe, but sometimes they like to tell the story a little too eagerly. Like, well, this is bad that's happened to us. You should feel bad for us.
Check out this atrocity that has happened to us.
But
feel for us.
It's a really bad ordeal, simply like not just because a bunch of people died, but also because the way things went down in the aftermath of it.
Well, yeah. There was just still, right. The event itself was a event where you look at it and go, this was so easily avoidable.
Yeah.
But just the wrong things kept happening, and just a horrible scenario plays out.
Right.
And the aftermath was awful. The fact where the fans essentially were blamed for their actions.
The fans were blamed for their actions. The crush that happened, essentially, way too many Liverpool supporters were allowed in. This was an FA Cup tie. They weren't even playing against Sheffield Wednesday. I can't remember who exactly they were playing against. But far too many people were let into the crowd, and all the people in the back trying to push forward to see the match ended up crushing all the people at the front into the fences that used to be in place at that time.
Yeah, because they were basically that end was kind of split into three sections,
mm-hmm.
and they were everyone was pouring into the same middle section.
Right.
And just filled up.
Yeah, and there are pictures out there where you can see people's faces pressed against the fences that used to be at the end of all those stands, and just literally being crushed to death. And that's how it mostly happened. But not only was it avoidable, it's been found clearly that the police and the stadium officials were at fault for letting too many people in the first place. But on top of that, the police and the newspapers, in particular the Sun newspaper, were extremely guilty of colluding with one another to basically blame, not like we were saying, blame the Liverpool fans, but also
essentially blame the thug mentality of
thug mentality of the Liverpool supporters. Yeah. But they also went on to say that people were, fellow Liverpool fans that weren't killed were stealing wallets from the dead and were peeing on dead, fallen fans, which none of that's actually been proven true, and in fact has almost been proven not true, entirely, it didn't happen. So the fans were blamed. They were then blamed even more so for being more thugs than they were even beforehand given, and it was just all over a terrible.
And it wasn't really just till in the last couple of years that there has been formal apologies from the government and from law enforcement, essentially.
Yeah, there's an inquest right now that's going down where they're investigating and potentially holding some of these people responsible years later. And a lot of the police officers and the sergeants have actually passed on, and the few remaining people that are still alive, may end up seeing the rest of their years spent in prison, and that's terrible to think about. But at the same time, it's also terrible that 96 people ended up losing their lives. So this is this is a huge event in Liverpool's culture. There are a lot of the things that about Liverpool, the flames that they always have on their jerseys and on the Shankly gates, and all these kind of things are really embodiment of remembrance they're paying to these 96 fans that lost their lives. So for Liverpool to win this type of game on this particular occasion just makes this all seem, it's almost fairy tale-ish.
Quite magical the way it turned out with them getting this huge victory.
Yeah, the cop, the main Liverpool supporter stand, was just an amazing showing. They had a gigantic tifo before the game during the minute of silence that everyone was forced to observe this weekend. And the eruption and the noise at first kick and at the goals, it was just kind of unbelievable. And it even kind of partially explains, and where we're going to give him a free pass on Steven Gerrard crying after the game today.
Yeah, I guess we will.
A little bit of one.
Maybe. He's still 60 goals shy of Lampard.
Whatever you got to tell yourself, man.
I'm telling it.
Yeah.
Facts tell it.
Okay.
Stats, numbers.
So Liverpool, with the win, of course, remain at the top of the table. Chelsea just chasing behind them, 2 points behind. City now languishing, like you said, 7 points adrift of Liverpool at top spot. So I think they're almost out of the running at this point. It depends on how some results go.
Things would have to kind of get sideways for Liverpool, really.
Yeah. I mean, even a loss to Chelsea, in 2 weeks' time, could see Liverpool still in the driver's seat if City lose some points on any of those 2 games that they have in hand. So they're still in the driver's seat. They control their destiny. We talked already, Everton sitting in 4th place, rounding out the top 4 right now. 4 points clear. 2 points clear of Arsenal in 5th, who did not again play this weekend. Spurs running it up 6th place. 4 points off Arsenal. I just want to catch them. That's all I really want to do right now. I want to catch them and finish ahead of them.
Do you think they're going to fall that far?
I would love to. It's just Spurs. We're not going to do that. So we're not. The other end of the table, though, things are still pretty interesting. Sunderland, like we'd said beforehand, I think they're done.
Goose is cooked.
Yeah, goose is cooked. Cardiff City and Fulham. Cardiff City in 19th on 29 points, Fulham on 30, and then Norwich City just above them with 32. So things are getting dicey
Norwich,
down there.
trending down. They could easily swap places with one of those 2.
Yep.
Let's move on. Do we want to go Champions League?
Yeah, let's get into Champions League.
We'll go Champions League. Tuesday was really when things were at their most exciting. Borussia Dortmund 2. Real Madrid 0, but it wasn't enough.
No, not quite.
Real Madrid go on 2-3 on aggregate.
Just barely.
Royce with the brace. Kind of a bummer for Dortmund.
Yeah.
This has not been a great year for them.
No, I mean overall it's not been a good year, and they're clearly in a point of transition as a club. Trying to figure out where they go next.
Well, and you wonder if a year like this gets them to go, maybe we need to kind of rethink how we do things a little bit.
Yeah.
To where we're not this club that to go a 3rd year in a row of them being the scorned lover to their best player by mid-season.
Right.
Already having their star halfway out the door.
Yeah, I mean, it could be one of those things where maybe they would actually let Klopp go in the summer.
Where would he go? I mean, that would have to be a high-profile job he would take, right?
I think Manchester United.
So now, I guess this is what it comes down to. We can debate with what could happen in the year that would make you go, yep, that's it. That's the straw that breaks the camel's back. Moyes is out.
Right.
But wouldn't the allure of having a more proven, more sought-after manager available be that straw?
I mean, I think it could. Here's the other thing. Who else are they going to get anytime in the next couple of years that could really, offer anything more? Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Ancelotti, you would imagine that Pep is going to stay at Bayern for a few more years.
Yeah, things are going fine there.
So I just, the time seems right for Klopp maybe to exit stage left. He's done good things with Dortmund. Maybe it's time for him to try something new out.
Klopp is basically what they were duped into believing Moyes was.
Yeah.
The up-and-coming hot manager.
Yeah.
It's Klopp.
I mean,
Klopp's the actual guy that what? I mean, Klopp helped. It was the architect of Dortmund having some great years. They won the league.
Mm-hmm.
They come to the Champions League final where they in the semifinals torch Real Madrid.
Right.
They come very close to winning a tight one against their rivals in the Champions League. Klopp has done a lot, and he's done a lot with young players. He's done a lot with these up and coming stars.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could even call him a star maker in a way. I mean, he has been there for some of these guys like Götze and Lewandowski to come in and
nurture them.
Flourish.
Right. So I think he's a good fit for them. I don't see another manager of his caliber opening up anytime in the near future, and someone that you could potentially see for long term.
So you think if it appears, if United thinks they can go grab Klopp, or Klopp is just straight up, leaves on mutual terms or whatever, that'll be it. That'll be enough for them to just cut bait and move on.
I don't know that it'll be enough, but I think it's tempting.
I think it'd be tempting enough.
Yeah.
Because I think you pointed it out perfectly. What are their other options?
I mean, Louis van Gaal.
They wait a couple months into the next season for Moyes to officially crap the bed. And then you're... What are you doing at that point?
Well, I mean, at that point...
Then you're scrambling to bring in some guy that's been sitting on the sidelines.
You have to overpay massively to a club, to get their manager to leave mid-season. It just kicks off a way more difficult set of circumstances. So if Klopp maybe decides it's time to move on, this would be the summer I think he could do it. And that might be just enough for United to say, yeah, the Moyes experiment is kind of one that we're willing to write off at this point.
Moving on to the other one. Chelsea 2, PSG 0. Chelsea pull victory out of the fire and move on. Thanks to Demba Ba, early goal by Schürrle, who came on because Hazard got hurt.
Right.
Comes on, scores a goal off of a long throw-in that David Luiz helped kind of ramp off the back of his neck.
Right.
To Schürrle, who just, had all the space he needed to collect and fire. Puts him up 1-0. Then they're chasing that second goal.
The lifeline.
Yeah, they get the lifeline. They go, hey, wait, we could actually do this.
It might actually happen.
And they chase, and they make offensive sub after offensive sub. And one of those was Demba Ba. And in the 87th minute,
he finds the winner.
Eto'o makes a shot or a pass or a shass.
Yeah.
Hits back off a defender. I think it was hit off of Alex.
Mm-hmm.
Rolls to Azpilicueta, who sends a great, perfect ball in. Demba Ba read it from the moment it left his foot and was able to, as he was being kind of mauled, get a foot on it and put it in. Game, set, match.
So I happened to be traveling midweek.
Yeah, you were all over the place.
I was all over the place for work. And happened to catch this while I was in a layover in Washington, D.C. in an airport bar, watching in standard definition. And I had to question whether or not it was actually Demba Ba that was in there knocking that goal in. Like, who is that guy? Like, I don't know who that is. I just don't know that anyone else on the team is quite as dark as he is.
And Willian cut his hair.
Yeah, it wasn't. No, it was Demba Ba.
It's Demba Ba, who had made minimal appearances in league, even minimal Capital One and FA Cup appearances.
Right.
This guy was nowhere to be found.
Yeah, he was like relegated to like the practice squad at times. He was just way off in the distance. And here he is popping up in the most critical of moments in the Champions League final. Now, it's not unlike Chelsea to dispatch of someone who's done something really good for them in a Champions League run. And I can think of, one manager that may or may not have won a trophy for you in this.
2 trophies.
Yeah. So, just because Ba's, sending out lifelines doesn't mean that he's going to get a lifeline to actually stay at Chelsea after this summer.
Well, he at least got to start this week.
Yeah.
So he had that going for him.
Mm-hmm.
But Chelsea move on. Huge lift for them.
Do you think Chelsea would have moved on had one Ibrahimovic been healthy for both matches?
I don't know. Did you see the footage of Jose doing his post-match chat with like Chelsea TV? I think that's like a on-pitch post-match interview where he kind of just throws the headset on and talks into the camera.
Right.
And midway through it, Zlatan walks up, grabs Jose, It was like, hey, good luck in the next round. They give each other a hug. And then he rolls off.
Zlatan does what Zlatan wants.
He does what he does.
I don't care if you're doing an interview. I'm just going to come in.
What is this, live TV?
Yeah, whatever. Zlatan loves live TV.
Yeah. So Chelsea, they dare to bah. They survive. They move through. And then Wednesday we got to find out who they were going to face up against. Atletico Madrid 1, Barca 0. Barca just looking blah in both legs of this.
Yeah, I mean, they're clearly, this is a team, speaking of teams in transition.
Yeah, they're definitely in one.
And it's going to be a tough transition for them, given that right now they're not allowed to sign any new players in this transition. So,
are they allowed to hire a new manager? Because it looks like they might be doing that.
Well, maybe.
Yeah, Barca looking not themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And Atletico Madrid, I mean, they
even without Diego Costa,
they look like a tough team. It'll be interesting to see how they face up. They were the ones that ended up drawing Chelsea.
Yeah, and why this is so interesting. So first off, let's talk about this draw, because
there's a lot of
there are a lot of storylines with the draw.
Bayern Munich dispatched of Man United 3-1. Evra hit a screamer, and then 2 seconds later, Bayern said, "Just kidding.
Yeah,
you lose."
Yeah. And then from there, I mean, Bayern didn't look particularly great. They didn't in either leg of this.
No, but they dropped the usual suspects on their goals.
Yeah.
Mandzukic, Mueller, and Robin.
Right. So, with that said, we had this draw to talk about. And it's kind of incredible the way these were, like, the draw went. First off, the two best teams, or at least the way that we've been classifying it for most of the season, in Madrid and Bayern face one another in the semifinal. So it's kind of a bummer that we're not getting those two teams in the final. I think, outside of you being a Chelsea fan, that's probably the final that everyone was looking forward to.
Two best teams from the two best leagues at the moment.
Right? Even though Atletico are sitting at top of the table in Spain at the moment.
Yeah, but
it was the kind of the team that we knew would be making the run at the Champions League more than they would be running at the league. So everyone's a little bummed about that, but it's going to make for a great tie. By the way, the last 2 times Madrid have won the Champions League, they had to go through German opposition to get there. So, not that they haven't already faced German opposition, but more so, maybe a good onus.
German opposition didn't work out too well for them last year.
No, it didn't. But so far this year it's gone fine, and has in years past too. So maybe that will be something to go on. But the Chelsea Atletico wrench that's been thrown into this Champions League.
I think Chelsea in the whole draw itself was a wrench, because all 3 opponents, there was going to be a huge storyline. It was either going to be him against the club he just left,
right,
Real Madrid, him against his somewhat nemesis in Pep.
Mm-hmm.
The battles they had in La Liga over the past couple of years. Or what we ended up getting, the can he play, can't he play saga that we are left with.
Yeah, so of course we're talking about Courtois.
I guess it's French, because it's Belgian, which is basically
French. Belgian. So the Belgian goalkeeper that Chelsea own, that is on loan at Atletico Madrid. This is where the crux of this entire debate comes into play, and it's that being on loan, is he actually allowed to play against Chelsea?
Now, if it was, the FA and most other leagues, it's pretty much cut and dry.
Yeah, if you loan a player to a team, they can't play against their host team. Yeah, you don't want to hurt the guy that you're actually supplementing or paying a majority of his wages.
Sure.
Right?
I mean, you look at Everton.
Mm-hmm.
They had to sit Lukaku.
Against Chelsea.
I was going to say Liverpool had to sit Moses, but they do that most days anyways.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, we've seen it time and time again. But how is it going to play out in a European setting?
So apparently in the contract for the loan, Chelsea had written in a provision that said if we have to face Atletico and they want to play Courtois in the match, they're going to have to pay us £3 million a match. $3 million.
Decent chunk of change.
I mean, that's a lot of change. So when we're talking about something like a Champions League semifinal, that's 2 legs. So you're looking at $6 million just to play one goalkeeper in a match. So in a vacuum, is playing Courtois worth $6 million?
Well, first of all, Atletico Madrid, they're not like hurting for money, but they're not Real Madrid or Barca. $6 million's a decent amount of change.
That's a lot. No, it's a lot of money for them.
Yeah. So for 2 matches, arguably one of the best keepers in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel like, which I think if you're Atletico Madrid, you have to realize this.
They've never made it this far in this tournament.
They've
Ever.
never made it this far. And this might be, I mean, you might not have a shot this good for a while.
Right.
I mean, you got Diego Costa. Well, that's a whole other thing if you have Diego Costa for the next matches. Because he smashed his leg against the post today.
Right.
You had this great player in Costa. You have this amazing keeper. You have this great team. This might be one of your only opportunities. I mean,
to win a tournament.
You might look in 5 years and go, "Wow, that was our best shot." Do you want to squander it over $6 million? Is it worth $6 million to you to give it everything you have?
Well, it may not even need to be a debate.
Apparently, it's really not. Apparently, UEFA has stepped in and said, "Yeah, he can play."
Yeah. So, I think the big thing here is that UEFA are saying Chelsea are essentially influencing a decision on how a game should be played by a contract. And I think that's why they're saying
Chelsea didn't. I mean, I wish they could look into the future and know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't think they knew, hey, we're going to play them in the semifinal.
Right.
And we're going to need to be able to pull this rabbit out of the hat.
Well, oddly enough, they were actually drawn against one another in the UEFA Super Cup.
Yeah, Super Cup 2 years ago.
But they kindly waived the fee for those games. Now, those are games of pretty much zero importance.
Yeah, 2 years ago they waived that fee, and they got spanked.
Yeah.
When,
pretty handily at that.
Yeah, Falcao just tore him a new one.
Mm-hmm. I don't like the idea of a team's best player, someone who's been so crucial for them, someone that Chelsea haven't even been that committed to actually keeping.
Still not that committed.
I think he needs to be in this match, and I don't think you guys should be paid any money for it.
I would agree.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the contract's the contract. I feel like it's pointless to debate what was in the contract.
Right.
But I'm not I'm not really butthurt about the UEFA decision.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, I think it'll be a decent match, and I want to see a decent match. And I still think the way Chelsea are playing, and the fact that Diego Costa is not going to be playing probably in this match because he put a nice hole in his leg this weekend, I still like our odds. Yeah. I still like our puncher's chance. It might be the best keeper. It might be against a team that's hot as fire, but I like our chance.
Well, I mean, you guys have players who have been in this position before and have some experience in this department that a lot of the Atletico players don't necessarily have. So, I mean, I think Courtois should get to play. We want to see the best players playing in these competitions, and hopefully that's what we actually do get to see. But in the long run, I think we don't want to see Chelsea get by on a technicality. Like, I think if you ended up winning the trophy this year, you could look back and almost see people putting an asterisk on it, saying like, well, yeah, they got it.
I wouldn't, but yeah. People would. Absolutely. Yeah.
So I think if you want to win this Champions League and be honest about it, you should probably try to go through the best teams in the best way possible.
This is a FIFA-sanctioned competition. Honesty is not involved.
Yeah.
The other match will be Bayern Munich and Real Madrid. That's going to be a tasty one.
Yeah.
I mean, if nothing else, that is going to be some fireworks.
Mm-hmm. And what many will consider the final anyway. I mean,
probably.
Many would consider whoever wins that match is probably going to be the favorite in the final
Yeah,
Either
I remember
way.
that happening 2 years ago. That didn't
Mhm.
pan out too well
No.
for that logic. But
Well, panned out well for you.
panned out well for me.
Yeah.
Let's move to back to England, FA Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Things are panning out in this front for Arsenal. While their league hopes and dreams are starting to sputter and spin, Arsenal won, Wigan won, 4-2 on PKs.
The Gooners move on.
They are going to play in a cup final.
Now, they have made it to some cup finals in years past.
Yeah.
They made it to
They've
the Carling
cracked
Cup final, lost that.
Yep. Hoop that away.
Mm-hmm. So, they've had their opportunities to do stuff here, but haven't necessarily taken those opportunities. So, and they really tried to throw it away today. I mean, they're playing Wigan.
They're playing Wigan, but hey, Wigan is a giant killer.
Mm-hmm.
Defending champion.
Right.
And they did in the 63rd minute. Jordi Gomez does give them the lead.
And everyone rejoiced.
It was. Here's why I rejoiced. And it wasn't because I was just wanting to continue just hating on Arsenal. My logic was this. If Arsenal is not in the final, Piers Morgan is probably not invited back to Fox for said final.
I hope.
Unfortunately, we don't have that to look forward to because Arsenal did make the final. Piers Morgan, which I would highly recommend, he got in a Twitter spat with the SI media critic Richard Deitch,
Mm-hmm.
and it went poorly for him.
Yeah.
I think Awful Announcing has chronicled the whole thing. Go check it out. It's a pretty good laugh if you're like most of humanity and find Piers Morgan completely insufferable.
Yeah. I would feel no guilt at all if I met him and just jacked him one straight in the nose.
You sound like Jeremy Clarkson from Top Gear, who did exactly that.
Okay, well, good. I'm glad other people have these feelings.
They got face-to-face at an award show, and Clarkson punched him.
Well, I'm jealous of you, Mr. Clarkson.
82nd minute, Per Mertesacker equalizes the match for Arsenal. Fairly pedestrian from that point on. Arsenal had some decent chances. Wigan clearly were playing for PKs and extras.
Got themselves there.
Got their wish. Their keeper, Scott Carson, gave what could possibly be the worst performance in the history of penalties.
Former England goalkeeper Scott Carson, mind you.
Well, what is England known for?
Well, crappy goalkeeping.
And losing on penalties.
Yeah, it's true. So that worked out exactly how you would expect.
I mean, he just flung his body one direction or the other every time the ball, like just right as the kick was given. Before he saw which direction it was coming off the foot, before he could catch any kind of information or educated guess, he just threw his body to the ground like a rag doll. Not even really in a position where he could, if he accidentally guessed right, which I don't believe he did at any point, really actually get an arm or a leg or a chest in front of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely pathetic.
Yeah. I mean, it was just ugly.
And from the other side of it, things were just as pathetic for their PK takers. They missed the first two, and because they couldn't stop a single one, they were doomed.
Well, happens to the best of us. Good run, Wigan. Again, valiant performance in defending their title. Like, I think that it's worth noting, despite the fact that they fell short.
Getting as far as they did, considering they're a championship side. Yeah, that's a pretty amazing effort.
Yeah. So, cheers to you guys. Way to go. Maybe you'll do well next year.
Maybe. That would involve you needing to be invited back.
Well, or, them needing to actually draw City again, since they actually have their number.
Yeah, that seems to be their thing.
Yeah.
Your other match was today, and that was Hull Tigers 5, Sheffield United League One side?
Yeah, League
Sheffield
One side.
United?
We're talking third division here.
3.
Yeah.
Two different times they had a lead.
Yeah.
They had a 1-0 and a 2-1 lead.
So you feel bad for the Blades a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been cool. We've seen some very low sides make the final for Capital One Cup quite recently.
Yeah.
But the FA Cup, which is held in a bit higher regard, having a League One side in the final would have been pretty cool to watch.
Would have been the first time ever, for that matter, as well.
Alas.
Didn't happen.
Hull Tigers pulled through.
Yeah, now it's worth noting, for Hull, this, in their, 109-year history, this is the first time they've ever actually made it to the FA Cup final. So, it's still pretty cool for them, regardless of the fact that they were the side that ended up going on and knocking out the third division side. So, I mean, I think everyone's going to be default rooting for Hull, unless, of course, you're an Arsenal supporter here.
Yeah, I think so. Oh, by the way, quickly, to jump back to Champions League for a moment, since we're talking about what people are qualifying for now.
Right.
I would say Everton and Arsenal, though, did breathe a sigh of relief that United are officially out.
Yeah.
They didn't want to get Tottenham and get their spot snatched from them.
No, that would have been miserable, and I understand that completely. So
that's two things that Arsenal can celebrate.
Yeah.
They're in a final, and they're, if they get fourth place, won't have that Champions League spot snatched out from under them.
So one of our listeners, Under Your Boot Soles FC, wanted to know a little bit more about how does this whole qualification thing work? Because we know that the top four, that's Champions League stuff, right?
Yep.
And we know that some people that finish behind the Champions League finishers in the table also get Europa League. But that number isn't always, the set. Sometimes it's 1, sometimes it's 2. Sometimes winners of other tournaments get directly into the Europa League. How does all this qualification nonsense work?
Yeah. Right? I knew a little bit of it, but I wasn't 100% sure.
Okay. So this is something I know a little bit about, so we can talk about this quickly. To really understand how all this works, you have to understand where the Champions League and where the Europa League came from prior to their current brandings.
Okay.
First off, there's the former UEFA Cup. Top-tier competition for Europe was reserved exclusively for the winners of the leagues. So every single country that played in UEFA, their winner would go into a single elimination tournament, much like the FA Cup, much like the US Open Cup, where you'd play a pair of games against an opponent, and whoever won the legs would go on to the next round. That was the UEFA champion, the now Champions League, was, again, just for the winners. The way Champions League kind of sounds, it makes sense.
Yep.
The Europa League, it comes from what was formerly the Cup Winners' Cup. So this was the reserve for the winners of the people who actually won the national cup competitions.
Yeah, the domestic cups.
Domestic cups in all the various European leagues. So these are your FA Cups, this is your DFB Pokal in Germany, your Copa del Rey in Spain, the Italia Cup. All the people that win the single elimination knockoff games or tournaments in their home countries would make it into those tournaments. So that's what eventually evolved into the Europa League. So what you have to remember as your basis for the winnings and going on into these various leagues now is the Champions League is based on league table. So it's still based off of the idea of whoever won the league and then a couple of the other top teams from those leagues. And whoever gets in, how many teams your country gets is based on how your team's done in previous years. It's just kind of a weird formula that deals with the coefficient. We could have a whole other conversation on the coefficients alone.
Mm-hmm.
The Europa League is still mainly based off of the idea of the cup winners. So cup winners always get a direct route in to the Europa League. And that remains the case. The Copa del Rey in Spain, their winner goes on and gets a spot in the Europa League. Same for the FA Cup. The Carling Cup's kind of an odd duck that England actually gets 2 cups and their winners directly in, but that's the way it goes. So, we've explained kind of how this all works. How is it that other teams get to come in? So, the Europa League was expanded about the same time that the Champions League became its current format for including some people who finished outside of the Champions League qualification places in their countries. It's usually just 1 or 2 spots at most. What happens, though, if I win the FA Cup and I finish in the Champions League places?
Well, we sort of have that with the capital one.
Mm-hmm.
Because City, unless there's some massive implosion right now, already won the capital one.
Mm-hmm.
And then they will finish Champions League.
Right. So when that happens, because City have already qualified for Europe, that means that they bump the place to either the runner-up in the Cup, in some circumstances, which is what the case is in the FA Cup, or they bump it to the next person down in the league.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a very complex set of circumstances that can open up additional places for league finishers further down on the table to qualify for the Champions League.
So Hull, once Arsenal finish top 4, because that means that regardless of what happens in the FA Cup final, they will make Europa.
Potentially. So, I mean, it's just weird how it all kind of works out. I mean, it's just, sometimes you're not even really sure that you understand it entirely. But the main idea behind everything is that the actual league finishers go into the Champions League, and then the actual cup winners actually go into the Europa League. So, very good question.
Yeah.
Very confusing topic. If you want to read up on it, spend some time on Wikipedia reading about the coefficients and those kind of things. It's really kind of interesting the more you dig into it.
You also feel like that's something where, because of the way football is set up, and sports in general is set up with just the financial gains that can be made through this and that, I would say it would be likely we're going to see pushes for stuff like that to be expanded as far as who gets in.
Yeah.
Because everybody wants a piece of the pie.
Yep.
Everyone wants a piece of, you Champions League, you talk about, for Chelsea, for these Champions League sides, they get to pull from multiple financial pools as far as TV rights.
Right.
So, you look at a Major League Baseball team, well, you get the money, that the national TV rights deal, and then you get your local TV rights deal.
Right.
For Chelsea, we got our EPL TV deal money, and now we got our Champions League TV money, which is just as big, if not bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And Europa, slightly smaller, but still that's decent cash. It's all a money thing, so just like we're seeing with March Madness, with college football, with Major League Baseball playoffs expanding, it's all about money.
Right.
And if there's money to be gained, you're going to see people pushing for expansion. So I guarantee you, in the next couple of years, you're going to hear some loud talking about let's expand who gets in.
Well, and maybe, whether or not expansion is the route to go, but maybe making the second tier Europa League competition getting bigger, more relevant prizes may be a better route to go too.
Sure.
As well.
Yeah.
To maybe help close up that gap between the Champions League participants and those that don't get to participate. So there are a lot of different ways these leagues could go in the next couple of years. I wouldn't be surprised if we see rules that revamp who gets into what in the next couple of years too. So pay attention to that. I think it's going to be a really interesting topic for years to come.
All right, let's move stateside real quickly.
Yep.
We'll run through a few MLS matches real quick. Philly 2, Real Salt Lake 2. Pretty interesting match.
Mm-hmm.
Early on, questionable penalty, but McGath saves the initial PK.
Mm-hmm.
Mulholland, though, collects the parried save, puts it in.
Yeah.
Later on, though, interesting moment as Philadelphia gets back in the match. The Philadelphia TV broadcast announces the fact that McInerney has scored a goal for Montreal.
Yeah, so this is Jack McInerney, a guy who is just traded, a young up-and-coming striker, a guy who led MLS for the first half of last year in scoring. Was traded to Montreal, kind of in a shock decision just last week. Scores for Montreal. So big
Mhm.
move for him, and they're talking about it on the broadcast.
As they mention it, pass deep over the middle, good through ball in, and a goal by Andrew Wenger, the man he was traded for.
So seems like that paid off for Philly, huh?
That was quite the interesting move. Also interesting to see that Heather Mitts is their sideline reporter.
Yeah, she is. She also just had a baby. So
On the sideline?
No, well, not on the sideline, yeah. My wife has already tried to arrange a marriage with our daughter for her son.
She is a Cincinnati girl.
Cincinnati native. Just recently interviewed her last year on the blog. So
Did you go to her camp to do that?
I did not go to do that. We actually just exchanged some messages
to
make that all happen. She did reply back to the message on Facebook for the arranged marriage with laughter. So we don't know if it was laughter of acceptance or laughter of denial.
Gonna need to get that in writing.
Yeah, we'll see.
85th minute, Beckerman pulls Salt Lake ahead. Salt Lake, a team that is so far looked to be one of the best in MLS, but right there at the death, corner comes in, Maurice Adu.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't heard a ton from him so far this year.
No.
A lot of controversy about
his arrival,
and
who he get to play for,
and what he qualifies as far as a player on a roster.
Right.
He gets the goal of the death. It was a thrilling 2-2 draw.
The weird thing about both of that, or with that result, is that both teams are now sitting on 4 draws apiece.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy. Like, especially for RSL, a team that we would consider one of the best in the league.
Well, but I mean, look at who they've had to play.
Yeah, I mean, they've played just about all of the solid teams so far. So, I mean, it's not that bad that they've gotten draws at a lot of those, but still interesting nonetheless.
Dallas 2, Clint Dempsey 3.
Yeah.
I actually literally wrote Dempsey and had to scratch it out and write Seattle.
Oh, okay.
In my notes.
All right.
But it was
a highlight of that has to be that ridiculous free kick.
Yeah, I would say so.
I mean, spectacular. To the point where you're like, I didn't even know Clint Dempsey could hit free kicks like that.
Just drilled the crossbar.
Mm-hmm. Kissed in. Those count for 2, I think, right?
Yeah, so goal originally attributed to Martins. They later changed it a couple minutes later to Dempsey getting the goal.
Mm-hmm.
Dempsey, though, continues to move on. Dempsey, though, was not done yet.
No.
He then basically set up what was a great shot for him. It was deflected in, counted as an own goal. And then in the 85th minute, scores the winner, gets the brace, but was real integral on all 3 goals.
Mm-hmm. Maybe responding to some of the criticism he's received over the last couple of weeks. I mean, the petulance that he's shown on his red card that he received a couple games back. You know, a lot of complaints about him kind of going half-hearted in a few of the matches he's played in recently. So it's good to see him actually showing himself a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, he was in his home state, so probably had plenty of family there to watch him.
Mm-hmm.
He's in a nice little form here.
Yeah.
Other matches.
But definitely want to make note of DC United taking a 1-0 victory over New York Red Bulls.
New York's not having a great start.
No, I mean, and that's the reason I'm bringing it up. One, DC was like, everyone was complaining about them being bottom of the table not long ago. They started 0-3. Now they're, 0-2. Now they're suddenly finding themselves in, like, pretty good shape and made some solid acquisitions at trade deadline. But New York, a team that, full of investment, big name players, didn't really do anything with themselves in the offseason, and suddenly they're looking like a team that hadn't done anything with themselves in the offseason, and they're currently sitting second bottom of the table in the East. So, wheels falling off in Harrison.
Yeah.
We did get one weird question about the Red Bulls today.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. From Kyle Bennett, KB Jelly on Twitter, wanted to know, Dax McCarty, sex symbol or sex icon?
As a fellow ginger,
I was hoping you would pick up on that.
I would say icon.
Icon?
I would say icon, yeah.
For gingers or people in general?
He sets the bar for gingers. Yes,
Okay.
I would say so.
Because I feel like I could maybe have better game than Dax McCarty. Not soccer game, but maybe in the ladies game.
But again, you're comparing ginger to non-ginger. It's like
It's like talking about two different species.
different world.
Yeah, it really is. So, definitely wanted to get that one in there. It's a weird question, Kyle. But keep those weird questions coming. They're fun, too.
Kyle a ginger?
I don't know if Kyle's a ginger. He doesn't appear to have a picture that is of himself. No, his picture is of Hazard, so maybe he likes you.
Hazard is not a ginger.
No, he is not.
He does have a white trash, pencil-thin beard.
Okay. Well, maybe gingers could appreciate that. So the other MLS game I think that's worth highlighting, of course, is our own backyard Columbus Crew. They made the trip out to San Jose today to play a team that's also struggling. San Jose at the bottom of the table, despite being a side that have actually challenged the last couple of years. Chris Wondolowski, a guy that's
not last year.
Yeah, not last year, of course, but winning the Supporters' Shield 2 seasons ago. Wondolowski has been in around the national team, leading scorer in the league 2 seasons ago as well. Just really struggling, but the Crew kind of coming in, riding a decent wave, although they got knocked off a bit by Toronto last week. Kind of needing a point, or to make a good showing at bare minimum, and really kind of came out of the gates playing pretty well.
Yeah.
Scored a goal from Higuain early on in the first half. Great team goal from Columbus, quickly on the attack, moving it all about the field, and finding a good cross from left back Waylon Francis into Higuain for the opener. But as good as the Crew were in the first half, San Jose were probably just as clinical, and the Crew forgot to mark on the corner. Of all things that you could do against a side with Chris Wondolowski in it.
Sounds like something you don't want to do.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's like a legitimate fox-in-the-box type player. Finds his way to score goals. And if you leave a guy like that open on corners, he's probably going to finish one. And that's exactly what happened. So
I saw at the end of the match, he helped a young man propose.
Oh,
Not propose, but ask a young lady to prom.
Oh, my.
He was the middleman on that
exchange. What is it with prom these days? Like, these weird proposals for proms? Have you seen these things?
It's getting out of hand.
You have to, first it was you made posters, and now you have to, take people out and do special things for them. I felt like I just asked a girl to prom.
I just had a girlfriend for...
I mean, I did too. I didn't have girls in my high school, so you had to ask.
Senior year, I didn't. So I just asked Fred. I was like, hey, you want to go to prom? And she was like,
why not?
You paying? I was like, yes, I am.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, all right, sounds good. But now it's this big production. So.
Yeah, I just keep it simple.
I guess so.
I feel like it's not very manly.
Would Chris Wondolowski make for a memorable prom proposal?
I certainly would.
Okay.
We're not very manly.
Depends on your girlfriend.
Let's say you got to be a man, sack up, and you got to bite the bullet and look that woman straight in the face and say, hey. And you got to be ready to deal with the fact she might say no. And when she does say no, you cannot go home and listen to a Morrissey album in your bedroom all day.
No.
You just gotta move on.
Jeremy, I know you said that you had a girlfriend, but it sounded like you're speaking from experience.
I cannot confirm or deny.
All right, fair enough. So now I know why you're upset with the Chris Wondolowski proposal.
It's sack up. What are I having talking to a person?
All right, fair enough. But the Crew, despite looking as bad as they had looked good in the first half, did make some late substitutions. Greg Berhalter maybe waited a little bit longer than he should have, and that might be my one complaint about it. But nearly took the lead several times in the second half, had a couple go off the woodwork. Mm-hmm. So
you're telling me all that.
You didn't watch the match. I got to watch it.
Face deep in the Masters all Sunday.
Okay, well, fair enough. you saved yourself some frustration from watching. They should have probably taken it a couple times. But let's be honest, a point on the road is a point on the road. I don't think overall it's that bad of a result. Still sees them leading the Eastern Conference. So,
not too shabby.
yeah, especially with Toronto dropping points today themselves. So they actually lost. So take that, you filthy Canadians.
They are filthy, aren't they?
They really are.
Let's move on to
the other domestic news. Yeah. So this is something I wrote an article about. So I'm not going to harp on this because you could definitely go out and read this, listeners. Hint.
So we're just going to kind of set this up on a tee.
Yeah.
And then say, for more information, check out our website.
Yeah, but if you do want to read more, it's there. But no, the big rumor that's kind of made news and waves over the last week has been the fact that South America's championship is coming to North America.
Do we know where? Physically?
We don't know physically where yet. There have been some
is it going to make sense in that regard?
There have been some proposed areas.
Is it going to be like in Dallas or Houston or Miami?
I mean, I think picking population or cities with populations of large Hispanic nature are where they're going to put people.
So it's either Miami or San Antonio.
So Miami has been tossed around. Houston and Dallas have both been mentioned. I'm sure that the Jerry World would love to host matches of those nature that would just fill up this entire humongous stadium. But they've also talked about places like Los Angeles, San Francisco. I'm really hoping they don't leave out cities like Seattle. I think Seattle would fill up, or Portland would fill up any of their stadiums to watch top tier soccer. And I hope they don't leave places like Chicago. I think Chicago seems a shoo-in because they have such a large Mexican population. But I would love to see places, maybe Philadelphia, maybe, Columbus has shown themselves to have a thirst for top-level soccer.
Zara.
Yeah. So I think there are a lot of places they could go. I don't know where they're going to go. And they have, this has not been made official yet. It's only Phil Schoen from BN Sport. Who knows how credible they are at this point.
I'm sure one of his sources was that St. Louis guy.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I heard from a rumor of a guy on set. But this is the second time we've heard this rumor, the centenary version of the Copa America being held here in the U.S. And the talk is that we'll see all 10 South American sides show up alongside 6 sides from CONCACAF to make an even 16. So we'll have 4 groups of 4, like a proper tournament.
That I like.
Yeah.
That sounds cool.
I mean, as a fan, this all sounds awesome.
Well,
right?
and we know that soccer, these international competitions or international friendlies or whatever, sell in the U.S.
Right.
Just look this week. That United Real Madrid match at the Big House that fits over 100,000 seats. Sold out within hours.
Right.
I mean, just boom. The entire Big House in Ann Arbor sold out for soccer.
Which is incredible.
Insane.
So the thirst is here, but this is different because we're not talking about friendlies. We're talking about a legit tournament. Now, while all that sounds great and dandy, there are a lot of things that
Anelka's playing
in Brazil these days.
It's not good.
Yeah. Racist bastard.
Hopefully. Heavy Jewish population in Miami, so hopefully if they don't play any matches there.
That's very true. But here's the crazy part about all this. While it'd be great from a fan perspective, I'm really worried about it from a player perspective. One, this is all being organized clearly for money. Like the South American Federation and its individual constituent nations all want boatloads of money.
I think that can be said about everything in soccer.
Yeah.
Why are we doing this? Money.
That's a default answer. But where other problems come in with this is that, look, 2014, this summer, we have a major tournament. All these players from South America are going to show up to play for their countries. Messi showing up to play for Argentina, Neymar for Brazil, all these big names that we'd be excited about coming to play in this tournament in the U.S. in 2016. Next summer, we're having a normal, regular, scheduled Copa America. 2015 Copa America is being hosted in Chile. All those guys are going to be expected to show up and play that summer as well.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have this special edition, 100th anniversary edition of the Copa America. They're going to squeeze into the U.S. so that everyone can make some money. As a player, wouldn't you just kind of be like, no way, I just spent 2 straight summers busting my ass for my national team. I'm going to take a summer off. Wouldn't this be the one to take a summer off?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, it would be.
So, I don't know. I mean, it also conflicts with World Cup dates, qualification-wise for 2018. It's going to directly compete with MLS and, even Liga MX. Neither of which I'm sure want to see that happen either. So, I think it's going to happen. But I don't know that it's necessarily the thing that needs to happen. That said, I will be buying tickets.
You'll be first in line.
I really will be.
Next week, looking forward to.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, midweek. By the time you're listening to this, you might be enjoying yourself some Arsenal West Ham, Everton Crystal Palace, or maybe even Man City Sunderland.
Ooh.
Weekend matches go as followed in the EPL. Chelsea host Sunderland, Norwich host Liverpool, Hull, Tigers host Arsenal, Everton, Manchester United.
Ooh.
I feel like there's like a correlation between the two.
Yeah, there might be. Something like a manager moving between the teams. Yeah, I don't know.
Fellaini, that was it.
Yeah,
yep.
Okay.
So the Fellaini Cup. And then City have West Brom. MLS, Salt Lake, Portland,
Ooh.
KC, Montreal. Those are your matches. Columbus is also playing DC again.
Okay. Felt like that just happened, so I'm actually going to that game.
Okay.
So if you're going to be in Columbus, look for me. I'll be wearing a wrong side of the pond Columbus Crew shirt. So look for the OHIO based design that we've got out there that's available in the shop. Also should have a couple more of these going to Brazil Nation shirts going up this week.
Yeah.
So keep an eye out for that.
One of my buddies was wearing one today.
Yeah. The U.S. ones have, of course, gone out. They've been very popular. Mr. Michael Parkhurst took a nice picture wearing one. So if you want to be like Michael Parkhurst.
And why wouldn't you?
I can't imagine a reason why you wouldn't want to be.
I can't.
Go out and snag one. But we will have a couple other countries up. Germany, England, and Brazil as well. So enjoy those. Anything else?
When are you making the Iran one?
Soon enough.
Okay.
Soon enough.
As soon as you figure
Once I get permission from Ahmadinejad.
Yeah, as soon as you actually have heard of any of the players on the team.
Yeah, that would be true.
All right, folks.
Have fun.
Thanks.
This movie that I think you like. This guy decides to quit his job and